Hello, 5th grade math students. This is Chapter 3.5, Adding Mixed Numbers. In this lesson, we're going to learn to add mixed numbers with or without renaming, and we're going to estimate the sums of mixed numbers. Let's get started. We'll begin by adding mixed numbers without renaming. Maya bought 2 1/5 pounds oranges. She also bought 1.5 pounds of grapes. What is the total weight of fruit that she bought? So to add, we're first going to rewrite the fractional parts as like fractions first. Then we're going to add the fractional parts before adding the whole numbers. So the first thing we need to do is create a common denominator for 1/5 and 1/2. That will be 10, correct? So we're going to rewrite our mixed numbers as 2 and 2/10 plus 1 and 5/10. Now we add. First, let's add the whole numbers, 2 and 1, giving us 3. Now let's add our fractions. We know it will stay over 10. Now we add our numerators together to get 7. So Maya purchased 3 7/10 pounds of fruit. Let's work through another example together. 3.5 plus 2 4/9. So the first thing we'll need to do is find a common denominator and make 1/2 and 4/9 into like fractions. I think we're going to want to use 18. So this will become 3 9/18 plus 2 8/18. Now we add our whole numbers to get 5, and we add our fractions to get 17/18. So 3.5 plus 2 4/9 is 5 17/18. Now try these two problems on your own. Now we're going to learn to add mixed numbers with renaming. Let's say that Serena jogged 2 3/4 miles and walked 1 1/2 miles. How many miles did she jog and walk altogether? Once again, we'll begin by creating like fractions. Our mixed numbers, will become 2 3/4 plus 1 2/4. Now we add our whole numbers together to get 3 and our fractions together. Now this is where it gets tricky. 3/4 plus 2/4 gives us 5/4. That's greater than 1. So what we're going to do now is called renaming. We can actually rewrite 5/4 as a mixed number as well, correct? And that mixed number would be 1 1/4. Because 4 goes into 5 one time, with a remainder of 1, that becomes our new numerator, and 4 remains our denominator. So now what we have, because we could think of this as 3 plus 5/4, what we have now is 3 plus 1 1/4. We add that together to get a final sum of 4 1/4. So Serena walked and ran a combination of 4 and 1/4 miles. Let's work through another example together where we need to rename 2 2/3 plus 3 1/2. So we begin by creating like fractions. The denominator will be 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So we'll have 2 4/6 plus 3 3/6, giving us 5 7/6. So we'll see we need to rename because we have an improper fraction as part of our mixed number. So our next step is to rewrite this as 5 plus 7/6, or 5 plus 1 1/6, because 7/6 is equal to 1 1/6, giving us a final answer of 6 1/6. Now try 4 of these addition problems on your own. Some of these will require renaming, and some will not. Please record your answers in your homework notebook. Press pause while you work, and when you come back, we'll work on estimating sums. And for this final portion of the chapter, we return to our friend the benchmarks, which allow us to estimate sums in fractions. So remember, our main benchmark fractions are 0, 1/2, and 1. So let's use our benchmarks to estimate sums of mixed numbers. Let's say we're adding 2 1/3 plus 3 2/5. The first thing we're going to do is compare the fractional part in each mixed number to the benchmarks. 1/3 is pretty close to 1/2, so let's think of that as 2 1/2. 2/5 is also pretty close to 1/2, so let's think of 2/5 as 1/2. Now we'll simply add. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1/2 plus 1/2 gives us 2 halves, or 1. So our final answer is 6. The sum of 2 1/3 and 3 2/5 will be about 6. Let's try another. Estimate the sum of 6 7/12 plus 9 3/8. So what benchmark would you want to use for 7/12? Well, 7/12 is very close to 6/12, which would be 1/2. So let's use 1/2. 3/8 is very close to 4/8, which would be 1/2. So let's use 1/2 for 3/8 as well. That will give us a sum of 15 2/2, or 16. And let's finish up today's work with these 3 final practice problems. Use benchmarks to estimate the sum of each of these 3 addition statements. Thanks for your hard work today, and when I see you tomorrow, we'll practice more with adding mixed numbers. Have a great night.